Welcome to Gamespot Live. I'm Greg Kasavin here to tell you all about Kingdom Hearts, which is decidedly one of this year's strangest games. It's a collaboration between Square, the company known for the Final Fantasy series, and Disney. These two things really couldn't be too much further away from each other. On the one hand, you've got the brooding and kind of self-important characters of Final Fantasy, and on the other hand, you've got these light-hearted Disney characters like Donald Duck and Goofy. Suddenly, they're all together in one game. It's a strange concept that at times is about as strange as it sounds, but the game itself is a fairly standard action-adventure that can be a lot of fun, especially to look at and just to explore. So those interested in the concept will no doubt be glad to hear that Kingdom Hearts, for the most part, lives up to its promises of bringing these two interesting worlds together in a somewhat understandable fashion. The main character of Kingdom Hearts is named Sora. He's a fresh-faced kid with strange clothes and spiky hair, and a lot of deep thoughts, the likes of which you'd expect from a Square protagonist. He's voiced by Haley Joel Osment, who you may know from The Sixth Sense. Haley Joel does an excellent job of bringing this character to life and just making him a likable lead as he ventures through all these different Disney worlds. The story of the game, such as it is that there's this malevolent force of creatures called the Heartless. These look basically like a cross between Marvin Martian and the Black Wizards from Final Fantasy, that's sweeping across all these different parallel worlds and kind of stealing their life energies, and eventually these worlds are just blinking out of existence. And Sora happens to be the chosen one to use this item called the Keyblade to rid the world of these things, and in so doing, he'll have to defeat a number of Disney's kind of most heinous villains, and he'll also help none other than Donald Duck and Goofy rescue Mickey Mouse, or at least find Mickey Mouse. It's really kind of a strange plot. It starts off sort of much like any other Final Fantasy game, but turns into something else. And unfortunately, the plot sometimes falls by the wayside as you explore the game's different worlds that are based on movies like Aladdin and The Little Mermaid. Sometimes the game will just turn into kind of an abridged version of those movies in favor of its own original story. So you'll just help a character like Ariel from The Little Mermaid kind of free her land from the evil sea witch Ursula, and then you'll go back to the main plot. Kingdom Hearts has a lot in common with Square's other role-playing games. You gain levels, you find a lot of different items, you gain new abilities that you could kind of equip onto different characters, you learn new magic spells, you even learn big summoning spells, only instead of summoning Bahamut and Ifrit, you'll summon Dumbo and Simba the lion. But beyond that, Kingdom Hearts is really an action-adventure game. It plays entirely in real time. You fight a lot of monsters, and you do this mostly just by hammering on the attack button until you slash them down into nothingness. Basically, there's just a lot of action as you run around from scene to scene, and in between going to different areas, you'll fight various bosses. So though the game has a lot of cutscenes and a lot of story sequences, it's really structured like a standard action-adventure, and it plays pretty standard too. The actual gameplay is pretty fun. There's some platforming elements as you'll have to jump from area to area, and just a lot of different enemies to fight. The Heartless come in a wide variety of shapes and sizes, although you'll only fight a few types in any given area. The game is animated really nicely, and anytime you beat one of the Heartless, they kind of explode in a shower of these different little power-ups that give you either money or health or magic power. So the game just looks good as you're running around and slashing guys up. Also, you'll rarely be fighting alone. You'll either have Donald and Goofy or perhaps some other characters at your side helping you fight. Although these guys just serve mostly to absorb some of the damage you might otherwise take, it's nice to have company. The gameplay does have some problems. The default camera is supposed to automatically center on Sora so that it's putting you in a clear perspective at all times. But whenever you get up against obstacles or when you round corners and so forth, it kind of gets all wacky, and you'll quickly want to switch over to the manual camera controls. That makes things more complicated because you have to rotate the camera around your character, and even still, sometimes when you're next to walls and such, it'll have some problems maneuvering around your character, but at least you can manage the camera to how you want it that way. I can say plainly that one of the best things about Kingdom Hearts is simply how it looks. The designers just did an outstanding job of bringing these Disney characters to life in full 3D. Disney's animators are considered some of the best in the world, so it's really remarkable that the game manages to capture their personalities and their appearances so intact in a 3D form. You'll really like seeing characters like Tarzan and the Little Mermaid and Aladdin, let alone Aladdin's genie in full 3D. You'll like getting to each new world just so you can see the new cast of characters there, and you'll have fun listening to them talk. The voice work in Kingdom Hearts is as impressive as the visuals. The characters are brought to life using authentic voices, and they sound just like you'd expect them to. The music in the game isn't quite as good, unfortunately, although it harkens to all of the Disney themes you might be familiar with. The music loops very often, so as you're kind of running around and sometimes getting stuck trying to figure out what to do next, you'll be driven a little crazy by the same kind of 40-second music track looping over and over. Kingdom Hearts is a surprisingly long game that takes you to a number of very interesting places in the kind of Disney canon. Even though a lot of the challenge comes from just finding out where you're supposed to go next, or just hitting the attack button enough times to defeat whatever foes you've got in front of you, you'll still really enjoy the game for what it is, which is this showcase of these different Square and Disney characters all coming together for the first time. It's true that if you strip the Square and Disney elements out of Kingdom Hearts, you'd be left with a pretty standard action-adventure game. It's a pretty long game, and there are a lot of secrets that you can find if you go off the beaten path. But the gameplay is pretty simple, probably in an attempt to make it appeal to all kinds of different audiences, just like Disney movies do. If you do like the source material, you'll really appreciate Kingdom Hearts for all that it's worth. It's this weird, unusual, perhaps one-of-a-kind game that crosses over two totally off-the-wall things into one successful whole. So don't go into it expecting a deep philosophical RPG quite like what you'd find in the Final Fantasy series, but do go into it expecting to see all your favorite Disney characters and some of your favorite Square characters going at it.
Ready? Go!